Just how do you teach hundreds of train drivers to drive over a route that hasn't even been built yet? And is London Bridge really a station full of posers? Welcome to the very long overdue train driver vlog number 8, Platforms and Posers. Hello and welcome to Train Driver Vlog number 8. And for all those that don't know me, my name's Richard Evans and I'm a train driver based in the south of England. Now, just before we get started, I just want to remind you that all the opinions and views expressed in this video are solely my own and may not reflect those of companies I may work for or may be associated with. And a special shout out to TV Licence Blog for correcting me on how you spell declaration. Link in the description below. And finally, you may remember in my last video, quite a few months ago now, but I asked you to identify what this sign right here means. I had quite a few good answers. No one was actually correct on this, which surprised me, but some really good answers and a few people that were very close. Well, it's time, I'm pleased to say, for me to put you out of your misery. I'm going to do this a bit differently. I'm trying to get more traffic on my Facebook page, I'll be completely honest with you. So I'm going to post the answer on my Facebook page. So that should be live over at facebook.com/dadrail. And as always, I'm going to set a new question for you to answer right at the end of this video. You would be easily forgiven if you thought this was an elaborate cathedral or a station on the Moscow Metro. Google it and you'll see what I mean. It is in fact one of several new entrances to the London Bridge station, this one from Joyner Street. The improvements at London Bridge Station are clear to see with a fantastic new concourse and the new platform, so much brighter and much more airy than that horrid old station, which unfortunately I didn't get any shots of before it was demolished. But as well as the cosmetic changes to London Bridge, there's also been lots of changes to the infrastructure and to the track layout with new speed limits, new junctions, new signals, new line names. So just how do you teach hundreds, if not thousands, of train drivers to navigate over this complex section of railway track before it's even been built? It all comes down to route knowledge. Train drivers have to have a thorough knowledge of all the routes that they travel over. You even have to sign a route card to that effect, demonstrating your competence to travel over each route. It's quite simple. If the train driver doesn't know where he or she's going, the train simply doesn't go. In actual fact, each driver has to pass over every route that they sign at least once every 6 months in order to maintain that competence. This could be via actually driving over the route, working a train over the route. It could be by having a cab ride over the route, or on some less complicated routes, just watching a DVD, a route learning DVD, is accepted. The reason for this is simple. Trains don't drive on line of sight. When you're driving in your car, for example, you drive on the line of sight principle. If you're approaching a corner and you can't see what's around it, you slow down a bit. And the brakes on cars tend to be a lot better than what they are on trains. For example, in a car, if you see a speed limit coming up, say 60 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour, you approach the sign, you brake. It doesn't take long to slow down for 30 miles an hour. When you drive a train, this is quite different. Signals, stations and speed limits can all be hidden around corners, so you need to know exactly where they are. Even on straight sections of track, adverse weather conditions and poor visibility such as fog can hinder you being able to see these things, so you need to know where they are. Interesting fact, trains don't actually slow down in the fog. We keep going at line speed. That's how good your route knowledge has got to be. You've got to know exactly where you are, even when you can't see where you're going. Now, I hear some of you crying out, what about speed limit warning boards? Yes, some speed limits are fitted with speed limit warning boards, but not all of them. As well as knowing where the signals are, the speed limits and the stations, which are all mandatory to driving a train, you also need to know what indication each one of those signals can show. If your route passes over lots of junctions, you need to know what routes you can take over each junction to reach your destination and your next calling point. You need to know if the lines you've been signalled over are suitable for your type of train. For example, if you're driving an electric train and you get signalled over a non-electrified section of track, it's not going to end well. You also need to be able to communicate effectively during emergencies. You need to be able to identify your location. For example, you could be stuck in the middle of absolutely nowhere, miles from a station, but you need to be able to tell someone exactly where you are. Therefore, it's important to know the names of other line-side features such as tunnels, foot crossings, level crossings, bridges, as many things as you can possibly learn. On electrified lines, you could even learn the names of substations and TP huts. The more you know, the better in terms of route knowledge. The exact requirements for route knowledge do differ between train operating companies and freight operating companies. Different ones have different requirements, but route knowledge will make up a large part of your initial training. So how do you teach a large number of drivers to drive over a route that hasn't even been built yet? Well, as with most things these days, technology is the key. With the London Bridge works specifically, they were completed in stages. New lines, new signals, new speed limits were introduced in stages as the works were completed. And prior to each new stage becoming operational, every single driver who passed over that route had to go on a course. Track diagrams, such as this one, were used to show new, existing and removed infrastructure, detailing the locations of new signals, new speed limits and the new line names. But by far the greatest thing for route learning, especially in the case of London Bridge, was the fabulous digital reality modelling. Basically, this digital reality modelling was just an ultra-realistic version of train sim, a virtual reality run-through of exactly what the route would look like after completion, detailing all the new signals, all the new lines, all the new speed limits. I will mention that in the case when I used it, it wasn't linked to a simulator, but my understanding is that it can be linked to a simulator. Absolutely brilliant. Even the graffiti on the bridges was in exactly the right place. A really great tool for route learning for routes that haven't been built. A big shout out to Track Access Solutions for allowing me to use their wonderful digital reality modelling footage in this video, and I've put a link to them in the description. So now I want to talk about POSAs, and no, I know what you're thinking, it's not that. POSAs are a new type of signal that have been installed in the London Bridge area and through the Thameslink core route, and I believe they're also in use on the East London line. POSA stands for Proceed On Site Authority, and they look and behave very similar to a standard calling on or subsidiary signal. As we can see here, this train has a red aspect, but it has the subsidiary signal. It's being signalled into a siding in this case, and the subsidiary signal tells the driver he or she may proceed as far as the line is clear, being prepared to stop short of any obstructions and obeying all other signals. They're typically used to signal trains into sidings or to signal trains into occupied platforms for what's known as permissive working. By the magic of Adobe After Effects, we can now see a completely different train and signal that looks nothing like the first. This time you can see the subsidiary signal is flashing. This indicates to the driver that the signal is a POSA signal. It means virtually the same as the subsidiary signal, proceed as far as the line is clear, being prepared to stop short of any obstructions and obey all other signals. The difference is the signalman can clear a POSA signal in the event of a signalling failure. If a signal fails under normal circumstances and it's not fitted with a POSA signal, the signaller will have to contact the driver of that train and authorise them to pass it at danger. Now this normally takes 1 or 2 minutes by the time the train stopped at the red signal and the conversation's taken place between the signaller and the driver. If more than one signal's failed, for example you have a situation where 2 or 3 signals have failed consecutively, the signaller has to stop the train at every single signal and authorise them to pass each individual signal at danger. Now, the difference with POSA signals is that as the train approaches the signal, the signalman can clear the POSA signal, meaning the driver doesn't have to stop and doesn't have to communicate with the signalman in order to pass that signal at danger. The POSA signal authorises the driver to continue as far as the line is clear, obeying all other signals, thus saving lots and lots of time in circumstances where signals have failed. And to be completely honest with you, I think we can expect to see the rollout of POSA signals in the future across the country. So we are fast approaching the end of this video and I'd like to thank you for watching. But as promised, I am going to set you another sign to identify. This one right here. I'm pointing to this side and I'm really hoping that in editing that the sign does come out this side depending on where the green screen falls and everything else. But can you identify what that sign means? Better still, can you give me the exact wording? I'll give you a little clue. It's actually slightly backwards, this sign. See if you can work it out from that. I'm going to post the answer on my Facebook page in around 2 weeks. Don't forget, if you want the answer to the previous sign, go over to facebook.com/dadrail and the answer to that will be up there now. I'd just like to thank you for watching. If this is the first video you've seen by me, then do consider subscribing for more mainline, heritage, European and model railway content. If you have any comments or questions about being a train driver or any ideas for future videos, do post them below, and those of you who comment often will know that I do always try and reply. I'm going to be trying to get a video up every 2 to 3 weeks now, depending on what happens with real life and family life and things. I've got a few ideas. The next video I do is going to be about how hard is it to drive a train? So yeah, if you want to know when that video comes out, subscribe on the YouTube channel, don't forget to click the notifications bell, also check out my Facebook page, and I'm on Twitter. That should all be down at the bottom of the screen right there now. Once again guys, thank you for watching, and remember, create, share and inspire.